Spoilers for those who haven't watched High School Musical, High School Musical, the series, which is not to be confused with High School Musical, the series. When I say High School Musical, the series, I mean the series of movies that were released between 2000, in between the years 2000 and 2010. Ladies and gents, I don't understand why Matt Pat said that, made a theory that Troy Bolton was a villain in those movies. I don't get it, but I do get it at the same time, but I don't understand why people also thought that Sharpay was a villain. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Memoria Freese Y3. It's lovely to be back. It's only been a solid 73 seconds. So, yeah. Let's talk about High School Musical. Because that's the thing on my mind today. So, yeah. That is what we are going to be doing. So, yeah. Yeah. So, we're going to be starting off by talking about the first movie. So, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I believe it was yesterday or the day before yesterday that I watched High School Musical 1. Again, because there was a time in my life, in the past couple of... This is not the team that I wanted to use. There was a time in the past couple of years, or maybe even months, that I had a proper sit-down. And I watched all 3 High School Musical movies in a row. And to me, they were great. Because I'd watched them way back when I was little, but I completely forgot every single one of them. So I went back and watched them a few years back, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. And a few days ago, me and Eddie were playing Fall Guys. Not in the episode that y'all know, but we were playing Fall Guys, and while we were playing Fall Guys, I told her to put on some amazing music so we could be inspired, so we could win. Which, spoiler alert, we didn't win. And some of the songs that she put on, were from Justin Bieber, or, were from this or from that, and mainly High School Musical. And we were listening to these High School Musical songs, and I'm like, oh, dude, I remember High School Musical was such a great series. I'm going to cry. And she's like, yeah, it totally was. And so I'm like, you know what we should do? We should actually watch those movies. And she's like, oh my god, that would be so funny. We should watch all 3 movies. Yes, we should. And so that is the choice that decidedly ruined my whole... No, I'm joking. That is the choice. We chose to do that. And so, a few days ago, we watched the first one. And the first one, in my opinion, after rewatching it for the 3rd time, probably in my life, but the 2nd time I can really remember, it was good. I really, really liked it. I really liked it. I mean, the music, the characters, everything about it was great. But at the same time, I couldn't help myself. I couldn't stop myself from thinking, is Troy Bolton the villain? Is Sharpay the villain? Well, I'm gonna be honest. I say this, but I actually didn't think this until I watched the second movie, which I just finished up like 20 minutes ago. Not even 20 minutes ago, like 5 minutes ago. And see, here's the thing. In the first movie, just to recap, Troy and Gabrielle are this new pair of friends who met each other at a New Year's party and realized that when school starts up again, that they actually go to the same school and that she's the new nerdy girl in town, and she's like the nerdy girl, and Troy is the basketball boy, and it's very shown up front in the very beginning of the movie that everyone's a stereotype. You know, like the basketball boys will be the basketball boys, and the popular girls will be the popular girls, like Sharpay. You know, the the theater kids will be the theater kids, and the math whizzes will be the math whizzes, and the nerds will be the nerds, and you know what I mean? I mean, this is freaking 2000s, folks. I mean, stereotypes just define life before, you know. My point is, it's a movie about stereotypes, and it basically shows how stereotypes can be broken. And that it's right, and that it's not wrong to break stereotypes. It's not wrong to just be one thing. And that shows very prominently in one of the songs that I completely forgot the name of. But it shows very prominently in one of the songs where I'm pretty sure it takes place in the cafeteria, and this song comes after Troy is shown, or not is shown, but Troy is now known for singing with Gabriella, who is the nerdy science kid, the nerdy science kid, and him being the basketball guy. So, because of this, everybody feels like has the impulse to release their feelings, and so then you have this silent girl who. You have this really silent girl who relieves, who sort of comes out as a person that loves hip hop music, or just likes this awesome type of music, right? And she's like dancing and doing this and doing that, and everyone's like, no, cut that out. No, you have to be your stereotype and whatnot. And then there's other guy, like one of the basketball guys, is like, hey, guess what? Since you know, if Troy can dance, I gotta share my secret. I love how to bake. I love how to bake. I love to bake. And he knows how to make a creme brulee, or was trying to cook a creme brulee, or bake a creme brulee. It was really cool, but everybody was like, no, you need to stick to the status quo, something like that. And now that I talk about it, I'm like, no. Like, stick to the status quo. Da-da-da-na-na. If you know the song, you know the song, and I'm proud of you. Basically, that's the whole song. So, in summarization, the entire first movie, is about breaking stereotypes. And I actually really like that. Because, at first, I originally liked High School Musical because, you know, it's a musical. And I mean, if you know anything about me and music, I mean, oh my god. So, I originally liked it for that, but when I watched it the other day, I really, really liked it because it was all about breaking stereotypes. And I really, really liked that, I gotta be honest. I really, really liked that. But, then I watched High School Musical 2. Well, actually, no, I'm not done there. So, in the first movie, it's all about stereotypes and all that, right? Now, I didn't think about this until I started watching the second movie, but I'm going to tell you my thoughts. So, if you need a refresher what happens in the first movie, basically, Sharpay and her brother Ryan are the theater kids. By the way, Arde and Astrea are level 30s. Not Arde. Sharpay and Ryan are the theater kids, or the super rich theater kids who rule the theater club. And they're performing for a show that they've been working on for ages, for the school, and they're, you know, and the theater teacher is trying to recruit some new peoples for the play or the show. Speaking of show, Photo and Sew is level 36. That was a bad. So. The the theater teacher is trying to recruit more people, and those people evidently end up being Gabriella and Troy, because during, you know, like practices or like sign-ups or team sign-ups, they ended up swooping in just at the right moment to play with one of the greatest pianists in cinematic history, honestly. Just a great character overall. I think her name is Kelsey. Oh my gosh, she is just so great. She is just such a great character. And I love them as a trio. They're such a good trio. Like Troy, Gabriella, and Kelsey. Oh my god, I cry every time when I... Anyway, my point is, I really enjoy that... Or not that I really enjoy. They performed, the three of them. Well, I mean, with Kelsey being the pianist and obviously Troy and Gabriella singing, but they're doing that, and then the theater teacher overhears them after she had left the auditorium, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to sign you two up for the show. You two sounded really, really cool. So then they're signed up, and then that's awesome. But then throughout the movie, well, not throughout the movie, but when they sign up and Sharpay finds out about it, because, auditions are being called back, she's pissed off, and so Sharpay and Ryan try to do something about it, and it all just ends up being this mess, to which is basically, throughout the movie, Troy cannot focus on basketball, and Gabriella really isn't focused on her studies, I guess, and they're both more focusing on music than anything, and all of their friends are worried for them because they think that they're being sucked into something that they don't want to be a part of when they actually really do be a part of it, and they kind of destroy, and their friends kind of destroy each other's love for each other, and it all falls apart, but not really, because epic ending happened, and yeah. So the moral of the story: breaking stereotypes. Coming out as being, or having, coming out as being multiple, or having multiple professions, or interests. I mean, even I have so many interests, and my point is, that's the point, but it's not also the point. My point is that in that movie, there is no villain. You could say that Sharpay is the villain, and, I mean, you'd technically be right, in the sense that I believe it was Sharpay that, sort of triggered the whole thing to Gabriella and Troy's friends, that, oh yeah, Troy's not focusing, and this and that, or maybe she didn't, but my point is that she may have done something, but in the end, alright, in the end of that movie, was she really a villain? Because, I mean, she joined with everybody on the final song. I mean, she was so happy, she was dancing right along with everybody. She was like, we're all in this together, and I'm just like, but I thought you were the villain. You're looking quite chipper. And she's fine with looking quite chipper. And so I'm over here like, so what happened with Sharpay being the villain? Because I thought she was going to be the villain. But she wasn't. And I was surprised because I guess she was just it's just very complicated. But my point is, it's not very complicated. I'm just explaining it terribly. But she seems to be the villain. She seems to be a villain, and even more, a stereotypical villain. Because when you think about it, when you break down her character, she's a theater kid, which I'm not saying theater kids are stereotypically snotty or snooby, but she is a theater kid who is rich. And again, I'm not saying that all theater kids who are rich and snotty. My point is that is a stereotype in the movie, and that is broken. Because in the end, yeah, she's mad she's mad that the nerds and that the basketball boys and whatever all ended up being sort of theater acts in a sense, or a part of the quote unquote musical. But she ended up being fine with that. She rolled with it. And so was she really the villain? No. But then here's my question. If she's not really the villain, then was Troy the villain? But Troy wasn't not the villain, even though like his friends got him on camera during the whole like kerfuffle of, oh yeah, Gabriella, you shouldn't be doing this, and Troy, you shouldn't be doing this, and even though like his friends recorded on camera saying, oh yeah, I don't need Gabriella, and blah 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 blah, it's still they still all came together in the end. Now, the same can be said about the second movie, but not really. So in the second movie, I'm not going to go through the story. I'm going to go through the story, but I'm not going to go with the whole... I'm not going to go through the whole thing being like this and that and that. But I am going to say this. I'm going to ask it already. Is Sharpay the villain of the second movie? Now, I'm basing all of this, if you remember at the beginning of this episode, I'm basing off of all this, or I'm basing this whole conversation off of a video that I saw by Matt Pat, or a theory that I saw by Matt Pat 2 years ago, which is titled, Troy Bolton is the villain of High School Musical. And I highly suggest you check it out. Depending on if I have time right now, so I can, depending on if I feel like it or not, I'll post it down below. I'll post the link down below, so y'all can watch it after this. But I just want to let you know that I'm just basing it off of all that. So if you hear some correlations from what I'm saying to that when you go watch that, just know that I got most of my information from that, or what I can remember, because... Yeah, anyway, so, in the second movie, which I just finished watching, which was so great, I cried so much. Ryu is at level 37. I asked myself, is Sharpay the villain in this movie? And Sharpay was not the villain of High School Musical 2. Because in High School Musical 2, you could say, oh yeah, she's the villain, because she told the manager to do this, and to do that, and to do this, which ruined all these characters' lives in the movie. And yes, you could say that is true, but, I mean, that's just work. That's just work, you know? I mean, sure, we're all in this together, sure they all want to spend time together, and sure that might seem dickish of her, which it is. She's just trying to spend time with Troy. She's just trying, like, she was specifically trying to invite Troy to the resort, not Troy and all of the other Wildcats from the first movie. And so, because she wanted to spend time with Troy, she wanted to give Troy a chance and try to get him a scholarship, and try to introduce him to, like, famous basketball players, and play with them, and get a scholarship, and know people, and be able to get into a good college. And so she was not a villain. She was trying to do good for him. But because of that, Troy became something he didn't want to become. Which in turn painted him out as a villain for for the latter half, not for a majority, but for the latter half of the second movie. Because he wasn't spending time with his friends. He wasn't spending time with Gabriella. He wasn't we're all in this together kind of thing. And even though he was sort of forced into it, he gradually fell in love with the fact that he was spending time with some very, very important people. And so that was very interesting to me. But that does not mean, even though Troy Bolton was a villain throughout the movie, or not throughout the movie, but for the latter half of the movie, to his friends specifically, and I guess you could also say Sharpay, because he promised her something and then she didn't get it, but then she actually got it. I wouldn't say that Troy Bolton was the villain, and neither was Sharpay. Sure, they did some dickish things. Sure, Troy did a lot of dickish things, probably more than Sharpay, but everyone's dickish. I mean, that's just how life is gonna be. You know what I mean? And so what do I have to say for myself? So what do I have to say? But I've already completed this. I have already. Oh. So what do I have to say? What do I have to say to all this? What I have to say is that Troy and Sharpay are neither villains of the second movie as a whole. Because in the end, as it did in the first movie, everyone was just dancing along with each other. Everybody was happy. Everything was great in the end. And nobody had any problems with each other. So, to me, there were no villains in the first nor second movie. Sure. And I forgot to mention this. Sure, in the first movie, Sharpay might have done this and might have done that. But evidently, in the end, that was just the friends that just followed Sharpay. That was Gabriella and Troy's friends that followed Sharpay's orders, or something like that. And they decided to do that. And so, in the first movie, you could say that the real villains, kind of, who I wouldn't even really call villains, but the real dickish folks were their friends. Now, I get what you're saying. That makes sense. And with the second movie, like I just said, Troy was a bit dickish. And Sharpay was a bit dickish. But what does that tell you? Is there any villains? Did anyone die? Did anyone cry? Somebody cry. But my point is, were there any villains? No, it's just a bunch of dickish people. It's just people being a bunch of dicks, and that's just life. Everyone's gonna be mean at some point. Everyone's gonna have their mean moment. Everyone's gonna have their little outburst or their little cynical plan here or there, and then they'll like realize, they'll take a step back, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done this." That happens to the best of us, folks. I mean, it's even happened to me, I think. So it's very interesting, because I watched MatPat's video, and I'm probably going to rewatch it again, going ahead, or not going ahead to the third movie, but I'll probably, like, re-talk about all this, after I've watched the third movie, and after I've watched MatPat's video. But this is all very interesting as a topic to me, because you have two movies where it's evident that there are possible villains, that there are definite and possible villains, but are they really villains? Yes, they are preventing other people from doing this and from doing that, and that sounds villainous, but but it's just, in the end, what does it mean to be a villain? Am I right? What does it mean to be a villain? If you're considering that they're villains, if you're a person that says that Sharpay is the villain, or that Troy Bolton is the villain, then what is a villain mean? Then what does a villain mean to you? What does a person have to be to become a villain? And if what you say is, in order to become a villain, you need to destroy cities, you need to break families apart, destroy just everything, Sure, that can be your form of a villain. That can be your opinion of a villain. In my case, that's exactly what I think. Or your form of an opinion, or not your form of an opinion, but your form of a villain could be a person that's just really mean to people. Just really, really mean to people. Like a stereotypical rich kid. Or a stereotypical spoiled kid. You could be like that. You could be like that. But the thing is, that you could clarify them as villains. But are they really villains? At the end of the day, at the end of both movies, is anyone crying? No. Is anyone regretting anything? No. Is anyone just so sad? No, because at the end of both movies, they're dancing until 5 in the morning with freaking tequila. Not really, but you get the point. So, I'm very curious to go into this third movie, which I haven't seen in a while. And the same one for the previous two, except, I just watched them recently, but I'm very excited to go into the third and final movie of High School Musical, so I can truly understand, is anyone really a villain in the end, or are they all just a bit dickish? Because I don't think there is going to be one. The next movie is going to be their graduation. There can't be any terrible... I mean, there's a lot of terrible things I can think about graduation, but that's besides the point. So, my question is High School Musical, the series of movies, really about Troy Bolton or Sharpay Evans being villains? Or is it about really good friends, all at different points in their high school lives, being real dicks to each other? For that and more, and all those answers, stay tuned for the next few episodes of To Memoria Freese, because, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk Astrea record. So, ladies and gents, I have come to see that it is September 6th as of recording this episode, and it has also come to my attention that tomorrow is September 7th, which means there are 2 days left until the finale, until the end of Astrea record Ultimate Clash, which means if I do not finish Ultimate Clash in the next 2 days, I am going... We're going to have another goddamn tragedy on our hands. So we're going to have a tragedy on our hands. So what we're going to do... is that... I'm going to do some homework. Going to play some Fall Guys. Going to take some showers. Get some waters. Have some food. Have some snacks. Spend time with my family. Because, ladies and gents, believe it or not, we had a little bit of a stumbling. We had a little bit of a crumbling, but we're back. That's right. Next episode, we're going to be back for the finale of the great... That's not what I wanted to do. This is not what I wanted to... Hey, how you doing? The next episode, we are going to be back. And not just back, we are going to finally, for once and for all, get back on track, because I kind of lost track for like 2 episodes, or like 5. We're finally going to get back on track to finishing Astrea record, Ultimate Clash. And so with that, folks, I think we've had a a pretty decent episode. I think we've had a pretty decent episode, if I'd say so myself. So, I'm going to go ahead, like I said, do this, do that, and you'll see me next episode, in which we will finish Astrea record Lost Justice, and thereafter, Astrea record Ultimate Clash. But until then, ladies and gents, let's talk about my day. Just really quickly. So basically, morning, I relaxed. I had a terrible nightmare where basically just death in staircases. So that's interesting. But not that some people might interpret that wrong. Anyway, my point is that's what happened. I was scared. My mom and Lewis watched a Bond film, which I completely missed. I had bagels for breakfast with some really good sauces or creams or whatever you want to call it. I watched Tommy's live stream from the other day. He did not stream today. I watched a little bit of Nikki's live stream. I did a lot of homework. I'm going to do more homework after this episode. I played Fall Guys. Almost won twice. And of course, watched High School Musical 2. So, that's all that happened today. Pretty easy. Pretty simple. Now, folks, I'm gonna go ahead, go to bed. But in the meantime, get ready for next episode. Well, don't get ready for the next episode. Just, if you need a break, you need a break. If you watched a lot of episodes in the playlist, take a break. 10-minute break. Stretch. Just, and if you want to keep on continuing stretching while, you know, the next episode plays, in which you don't really have to look at it because it's just going to be more and more battles. I mean, come on. At this point, you should be listening to the series as a podcast unless, like, there's actual story. Not disregarding you if you aren't watching it as a podcast, but, or listening to it as a podcast, but anyway, my point is, stretch out a little bit, enter next episode, maybe even get some waters in between, get yourself some snacks, because by golly, if I'm right, we're going to have ourselves a solid 3-hour finale on the 8th. And that's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, this has been I, Player Yasset. And until tomorrow, I will see Yai in the next episode of Danjo ni de motomeru no mashi ga tiru daro ka memoria Freese Y3. Peace. Adios, for watching. Sorry for now.